Hey friends, I've been living in the Netherlands for the past 2 years and I keep seeing the same news and publications. The Netherlands is one of the most expensive countries in Europe. Dutch cities are constantly ranked among most expensive cities in Europe, especially when it comes to rent and housing. But how expensive is it really? I will try to break it down for you today, and we also touch upon the taxes and salaries in the country. We try to answer a question, is it really that expensive or the news are bloated? Since I moved to the Netherlands, I've gone through some changes that are directly related to cost of living here. First, I swapped renting for buying a house, and second, I transitioned from public transportation and biking everywhere to buying my first car here. Despite buying a car, I still have not just one or two, but 3 bikes. Well, I guess I don't need this one anymore. On the second thought, I still want to use public transport from time to time. But let's get from bad jokes to actual numbers. Housing crisis is real in the Netherlands and it gets a little bit worse every year, so the prices are high when it comes to accommodation. If you want to rent an apartment in the big cities like The Hague, Rotterdam, Utrecht or Amsterdam, you should be expecting paying at least from 1,000 to 1,200 euros per month. But even those numbers are quite rare. If you're a newcomer to the country, you don't have any tax history or work history here, you also don't qualify for any social housing programs, then realistically you will be paying around 1,600 euros per month for an apartment and maybe close to 2,000 in Amsterdam. Of course, there's a way to pay less, is to rent a shared apartment with someone else. In that case, you will be paying just half of the price. 1 year ago, my wife and I rented an apartment in The Hague for 1,700 euros per month, and it wasn't centrally located. It was around 30 minutes from city center by tram or by biking. After we moved out from the apartment, the landlord, the owners, they increased the price even more, making it around 1,800 euros per month. If you're willing to consider smaller towns and most importantly further from the Randstad area, which is the most populated area in the Netherlands, the situation with the renting is much better. In relatively big cities like Groningen, Maastricht, Tilburg, Nijmegen or Arnhem, you can easily find an apartment for 1,000 to 1,200 euros and it's gonna be a pretty good place. If you're willing to travel north to the country from the most populated area where I live in Zwolle or even far to the north, you will be finding cheaper and cheaper apartments the further you travel. I think the cheapest place right now is Leeuwarden, which is located west-north to the rest of the country, and it's pretty far away from main big cities. But in my opinion, the easiest way for accommodation in the Netherlands is still buying a house. If you can afford the mortgage, of course. In the Netherlands, there are still quite favorable interest rates on mortgages, 0% down payments, different kind of incentive for first-time buyers, tax refund, and just in general slower price increase compared to rent. As a house owner, you will probably have a lower monthly payments compared to rent in the same city. That's why I switched to home ownership as well. We bought this house for 380,000 euros with a mortgage interest rates of 4.12%. So monthly I pay 1,840 euros, but there is a big but. I got back from the government via tax refunds around 480 euros per month as a house owner, which makes my net payments is actually 1,358 euros per month, which is way better if I decided to rent a whole house in the same city. Renting the whole house in the Netherlands usually costs arm and a leg. By the way, I wrote a book about buying a house here in the Netherlands. This book also includes the calculator for buying versus renting decision and other helpful resources. Check it by this link or link in the description. Of course, with rent you don't have other expenses like maintenance or taxes or house insurance. Landlords usually take care of all of these for you as a tenant. Regarding maintenance, I, for example, didn't spend anything on the maintenance yet but it's different case by case and depends mostly on you and your house. There's always something to improve within the house itself. In terms of taxes, I pay around 1200 euros per year or 100 euro per month, and for property insurance we pay around 70 euro per month, which makes the total cost of owning a house is 1528 euro per month. Energy bills are another important cost, but because we installed those beautiful solar panels, we actually produce more electricity than we use every month. In the last 6 months our bills were really low and we just paying only 20 euro per month for all the energy we use. And it was already recalculated taking into account that we produce and returning back to the grid so much electricity. Thank you, son. I should mention that we rarely use gas for heating the house. We haven't turned on those things last winter at all. My wife and I will just use warm clothes and a hot cup of tea to warm ourselves during the winter months. And we also bought an electric radiator to heat the specific places like a couch. And it works very well. If you're planning to use a lot of heating and you don't have solar panels on your house or apartment building, expect your bills to be much higher. When we lived in The Hague and we paid for a gas for heating our apartment, we paid a lot, around 150 euros per month. Another recurring cost, which is absolutely must when it comes to watching YouTube, is of course internet. Both mobile plans and home internet often sold in packages here, so you get a pretty nice discount when you buy both from the same provider. I use Odido for both and I pay 11 euros per month for mobile plan, which includes 20 gigabytes per month of data in the Netherlands and the EU zone, and for home internet we pay 30 euros per month for 1 gigabit per second fiberglass. I don't use a lot of subscriptions, but in general most subscriptions in the Netherlands are in the range between 10 euro to 15 euro. I usually just have one at a time and I usually buy them on annual sales for a long term. For example, Netflix costs 9 euro for the cheapest 720p and 19 euro for the most expensive 4K version. Disney Plus costs 14 euro per month. Amazon Prime is surprisingly cheap for just 5 euro per month, and you also get free things like free delivery and Amazon Music, for example. YouTube Premium costs quite high here, 14 euros per month. Both Spotify and Apple Music cost 11 euro per month. Gaming services, if you're interested, Xbox Game Pass subscription costs from 13 to 18 euro per month, and PS Plus subscriptions are from 14th euro to 17th euro per month. With both you can get some discount if you pay annually. If you're curious about any other subscriptions, just let me know in the comments and I will look it up for you. So for these recurring bills I pay from 70 to 80 euro per month depending on my current subscription situation. The next big expense is food. Since I moved to the Netherlands I started cooking 95% of the time compared to the times when I lived in Asia and Georgia and I'd eat out most of the time. By the way, if you're into vegan food or willing to try it, I certainly recommend channel Pickup Limes. I think she's doing an amazing job breaking down the simple recipes, so even such a bad cook as myself can make a decent food. As a bonus, she also lives in the Netherlands, so the groceries she uses are always available here. Honestly, eating out is not that amazing in my opinion, especially when it comes to Dutch restaurants, and it's also really hard to call it healthy. So cooking home is a good thing. This is my way of reassuring myself, so I don't have to admit that everything is just so expensive here. But seriously, yes, eating out is very expensive here in the Netherlands. Restaurants, delivery, even food boxes, subscription services can easily break your bank. On average, my wife and I spend between 100 to 300 euros per month on eating out, and we barely go anywhere. If you want to go to restaurants much often, your bill will be much higher. For groceries, we spend on average 400 to 450 euro per month. Both eating out and groceries are for two people, so if you are alone, you can divide it by two. I really love Dutch trains. I think they are comfortable, reliable, and very quick, but they are also expensive. For example, to go from where we live to Zwolle city center, it costs over 2 euros. and it's literally 4 minutes ride. If you want to go from my house to the Amsterdam, it will cost 22 euros, and if I want to go to The Hague to enjoy the beach, for example, it's 27 euros. Just as a comparison, sometimes you can buy a ticket to France for 30 euro. The good news is the Dutch train company NS has a variety of different subscriptions and discounts. If you're often planning to travel by train, it definitely makes sense to research this, because it can give you at least 40% discount for the ride and sometimes even give a free ticket. For example, this summer they had a promotion and we bought relatively cheap subscription to travel by weekends, so every weekend we've been traveling somewhere and was completely for free. On average, we were spending around 100 to 120 euro per month for 2 people, and it's considering we used all the possible promotions, we don't go to work or anywhere, so most of the trips are for leisure, and it doesn't include any international travel. Of course, for any short trips, we usually don't use any kind of trains here in the Netherlands because we have bikes, so we just use bikes on any short trip you need to take. Clarification: we had been using bikes before we bought a car. We only own this car for just 2 months, so it's hardly detailed information, but so far we drove a little bit over 4,300 kilometers and we spent 207 euro on charging stations. On average, it cost 3.5 euro per 100 kilometers here in the Netherlands. But recently we traveled around Germany, so our average price is skewed a little bit, and now it costs us around 4.8 euros per 100 kilometers. Germany Tesla superchargers are quite expensive compared to the Netherlands. They almost twice as expensive than here, and we drove quite a bit around Germany. But even with German charging stations, it's still cheaper than NS trains. In addition, the car insurance cost 123 euro per month, but I should mention this is the maximum possible insurance for this car I could find. It covers everything and a few things more. And also, I don't have any prior experience of driving here in the Netherlands, so my insurance costs are the maximum possible. But of course, those numbers could go up in the future as well. Because first of all, right now there are no road tax for electric cars in the Netherlands, and they planning to introduce them starting next year. They're going to be a fraction of the cost at first year, and then they will be increasing year by year. But so far, there are completely zero maintenance or taxes costs. It certainly would have been much more expensive to own a gas car. Even the gasoline costs here 2 euro per liter. So in total, it's around 200 euros per month for owning a car. Healthcare in the Netherlands is mandatory, so you must pay healthcare premiums monthly, even if you don't use healthcare at all. There are plenty of choice when it comes down to healthcare providers, but there are not that big of a difference in terms of pricing. It's close to impossible to find a healthcare provider who sells insurance for less than 125 euro per month in 2024. It's the cost for a most basic plan. So if you want to have some additions like travel insurance or a dental plan or plastic surgery, you must pay additional premiums. And it's really easy to make this price really high, like 200 euro per month, if you add additional options. Good news that the most basic plan include all the free stuff that you need, like visit to your family doctor or huisarts, and all the other things that I don't really know about because I still didn't find my family doctor. Yeah, for some weird reason I still haven't assigned myself to a family doctor, but for that you need to go somewhere out of the house, talk to some people, and you can probably tell by this video that I'm pretty much always somewhere in the house. I cannot get hurt if I'm on the couch, right? Right? Gosh, this apartment is so small. I think it covers all the basic expenses to live pretty comfortably in the Netherlands in 2024. In total, it comes down to 2,500 euros per month for 2 people, considering you have a home as a mortgage and car ownership is included too. Is it a high cost of living? I have no idea how to answer this question, but let's calculate something else. I think the most important question when it comes to cost of living is how much money you need to make after taxes to meet the costs here. So let's see, to have a net salary of 2,500 euros per month, you need to have a gross salary of 2,900 euros per month or 35,000 euros per year. This is for two people, so I'd say it's not that bad. The problem here that in this example of costs I use the house example, not a rent. And with this example salary you get a really low mortgage. You probably won't be able to find a house for this salary. To buy a house for at least 400,000 euros, which is more or less realistic average price on the houses right now, you need a salary at least 80,000 euros per year. In addition to that, you probably don't want to live off only the basic needs that I mentioned in this video. There are so many other expenses that I didn't mention, like entertainment, travel, all kinds of taxes, purchases, business expenses if you have one, and even the weird stuff like a copyright-free music. Hear that? I paid for this music to be copyright-free. So realistically, I would add another 1,000 euro per month to all kinds of expenses to live here comfortably, which makes it 3,500 euros per month. I think it's pretty close to what actually our family of two spending here. You know, because of these random purchases like a bike or three. To make 3,500 euros after taxes, your family need to be making 5,000 euro per month gross or 60,000 euros per year. Despite this number seems quite high, I think for the Netherlands it's very manageable. Current average salary is around 44,000 euros per year, so for two people, even with average salary, it's very much achievable. In my opinion, if you're a couple, especially a young one, and especially without kids, it's not an issue to live in the Netherlands and have a pretty comfortable life. And if you're an expat and leveraging 30% ruling here, it's even more manageable. In that case, you have pretty good chunk of money to save up every month. Unfortunately, the picture changes completely if you're alone or one of you in the family cannot work or you have kids. In that case, it may be much harder to get comfortable in the Netherlands. And I heard that everything related to kids here is quite expensive too. The Netherlands is definitely an expensive country, there is no way around it. There are much cheaper countries out there where you can live with lower salaries much more comfortably. But in my opinion, if you really like this country, you can make it work, especially if two people can work on an average salary. What do you think? Is the Netherlands worth the costs, or you'd rather be living somewhere else with lower cost of living? Let me know in the comments below. That's all for today. I hope you liked this video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, check my other videos about living in the Netherlands and also other cost of living type of videos to compare it to other countries. And see you in the next one. Doei doei!